Tim, just to bring this back into the defence sphere, in the House of Commons, would what would your approach be to talk up and try to get defence taken more seriously by whichever government of the day is in power?
Well, I think the thing is to start having start committees and getting people interested in committees, whether official or private, where we start planning for the defence of the realm. We accept that the Ministry of Defence is lost and not as part of the problem. And we need to start, for instance, talking about how would we regenerate a military after the inevitable catastrophic collapse? Where are we going to get? It's not just people. And I took over a battalion out of interest that was 250 men short when I arrived at the battalion, and because of the undermanning, we also had taken a lot of undesirables from Englishmen, mostly, sadly. I threw 47 of them out, mainly for drug dealing. So I ended up with 300 men undermanned in the first months, and we were about to go on an operational tour to Northern Ireland. There's nothing I could do about that, but in the margins, I sat down with my senior staff. We decided we're going to have to recruit for ourselves. So the first thing we did was we went to Army Recruiting Group, and we had several conferences with them, and we listened carefully to what they had to say. We went to Northern Ireland, listened to Northern Ireland Recruiting Group, who are the specialists in Ireland, and listened carefully to what they had to say and took notes. We then went and did exactly the opposite to what they had advised. And we ended up with a fully manned battalion 2 years later. We did crazy things like we closed our recruiting office in Blackheath in London and opened 3 in Northern Ireland. And we managed to recruit. That can't happen now because the government has given the contract to Capita. I don't know who Capita is ultimately owned by, Sinn Féin, I suspect, or the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. But whoever they're working for, they're doing a damn good job. They simply can't recruit. And all this stuff about we're going to allow you to have a beard in future, we're going to allow you to go home. It's a nonsense. The people are there who want to join. The statistics for the number of people who have attempted to join the British military over the last 4 years is staggering. The tiny number that have actually made it the way through. It's a mixture of rejection because of the wrong color, usually white, or simply the length of time it takes for anyone to even look at their application, which can be months, if not years. It's a total failure. So we need to get rid of them. So in Parliament, we would discuss these things, and I'd be happy to sit with other MPs, and they say, how could we fix this? And I'll say, this can be fixed, and this is what we do. We recruit on a local basis. We have recruiting offices. We do self-help, and we can get back up to strength. We can fix this when the hammer drops. But we mustn't tell the MOD what we're doing because they will try and counter it. Conscription is the last resort, always in the United Kingdom. We've never had conscription in Ireland, and we've continued to... up until Capita came along, we were still able to recruit robustly in Ireland. Capita found, they looked at how we were doing that, and it's been stopped. What's more, they found that a lot of Irishmen are still getting through the system. And the way that you can curtail that is by when they join, you send them to other regiments, and then they tell their friends and they don't want to join. So they're very effectively closing it down. So there's never been recruitment, conscription in the United Kingdom as a whole, only in England, Scotland, and Wales. I think in the future we probably have to go to conscription in a national emergency. It'll be difficult, it'll be ugly. I don't know who the heck's going to even train the conscripts, but we may have no choice because between Capita and reluctance, we just have no army. The alternative, of course, is to outsource it to another country, but I can't think who would get to do that. The other thing is that if in a miracle that we were able to quickly reorganize ourselves, the thing we can't do, we're able to do in the last war, in the First World War, is we can't make things because we've got rid of so much of our manufacturing capability and our resources, like our independent steel capacity, etc., that on our factories and our industrial capacities to make airplanes, to make tanks, to make rifles, to make ammunition, foundries to make 155 artillery ammunition, places where we can make get the chemicals to make the fillings and the propellant. We don't have that capacity, and that will stop us quicker than anything else. The Russians and the Ukrainians are shopping around the world to find the wherewithal to make more and more and more. We're giving ours away and often selling it to China. So that's something will be very hard to fix. More broadly than that, what I'd say to people is, when you watch the telly, remember that the person who's presenting this in the BBC has a vague grasp of reality, and it's mainly dependent on their prejudices. So people are saying, ceasefire now. Well, hang on, ceasefire in Gaza now, which means everyone stops firing. What next? What about the hostages? What about the vacuum? Where are the Israelis going? When the Israelis leave, who's taking over the security of Gaza? It can't be Hamas. A, they've been heavily reduced, and secondly, they are unacceptable to anyone in the region, including the Egyptians, including the Saudis, including everyone else. It can't be the Palestinian Authority, because it's so riven with corruption. It's on its knees itself. Mahmoud Abbas, who's 86 years old, is in the 18th year of his 4-year term, and the thing is a mess. So somebody's going to have to come in. Have the intellectuals thought about this? I doubt it. So what's going to fill the vacuum? The most likely case will be that it will be filled by an Arabic peacekeeping force, probably led reluctantly by Egypt, comprising Saudi Arabia, Arab Emirates, and some of the North African countries. And they will have to go and pick up the pieces. And it may well be the Western nations. What will contribute is bringing hospital ships and aircraft carriers with medical facilities in close to the coast, so we can start to rebuild Gaza. So there's two groups really in Gaza. There's the Muslim Brotherhood, and there's the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Al-Quds force. And it's an unusual alliance between extreme Sunni Islamic groups and extreme Shia Islamic groups. But if I could present it to you a bit like the alliance between Portugal and England during Elizabethan times, you had a very Catholic country alongside a very Protestant country, but they're allies to fight off the bigger threat from other Catholic countries that would ever come. That's why it exists. They will throw the kitchen sink at the Arabic peacekeeping force. And Gaza will continue to be a very bloody place. I suspect they will have, that peacekeeping force will have to resort to, will make what the Israelis are doing look like it's tame. But the other side of the coin, I'd say to the Israelis, is a reality. This will be an internationally backed peacekeeping force, and it will go in the West Bank as well, because the Palestinians have demonstrated they can't protect themselves. So if it turns up in the West Bank and it gets to a point where that has to happen, my message to the Israelis is they will police the West Bank. You, Israel, will be safe within your borders, and this international force will guarantee that. The other side of the coin is all the illegal settlements, all of the settlements will have to go. You can take them away or they'll be moved, but they've got to go. Control of the water will have to be ceded to that force, and that will be internationally backed, including by countries like the United States and UK. So that's what's coming, and that's their choice. And people saying, oh, let's cut off their supply of arms. We barely supply them any arms. They're not even going to notice it. But dangle a carrot in front of them where they're going to see Egyptian or Emirati troops guarding Jenin or patrolling Ramallah. That's a different. They're going to see Omani bulldozers taking illegal settlements away and handing land back to the families that have had them for thousands of years. This year, in what I would call Acre, the ancient port city mentioned in the Bible, the port of entry for the Crusades, it's an overwhelmingly Palestinian town. 2024 is the year the Israelis said, you all have to get out, unless you've got paperwork to show that you own the house. If you've lived there for 12 generations, for over 1,000 years, where's your piece of paper to say you lived there? They're like, well, no piece of paper, no living there, out you go. And all the houses will be put in the open market, and guess who's going to buy them? These are the things we should be controlled about. Ceasefire now, stop the arms shipment. I mean, what I say is, go and get involved in potholes or something you can change. Stay away from this stuff that's really important that you don't understand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Here. So really, thanks very much for your time. It's great to see you again. And I wish you every luck in the general election. And if I had a vote, I'd vote for you.